Good afternoon. I'm Stan Tate, and I'm excited to serve as I was your DJ for about the past 30 minutes. Now I'm excited to serve as your MC during today's event. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the Chamber's virtual 2020 annual meeting. Man, what a year it's been. And amongst all the uncertainty, everything that's happened, Chamber members have been able to find the silver lining. Let's see what some of those members had to say.
2020 has been my year to learn Chinese. 大家好，我的中文进步了。
We got to move to downtown Overland Park.
The fact that we didn't run out of toilet paper at our household.
Being able to spend more time with my family.
Our faculty, staff, and community for supporting the success of our students.
Getting to spend more time with my furry, four-legged coworker, Gigi. Say hi, Gigi.
Cindy Bergmeyer. I am a 2013 Leadership Overland Park alum. Spent the last 5 years in Louisiana and excited to be back in Overland Park at Menorah Medical Center.
Doubletree released the secret recipe for the cookie.
Positive for me has been seeing how nimble we've been and how much grit we've shown.
Transformation.
Again, I'm your MC, and now I'm excited to really start this meeting. We have a terrific and fun program lined up for you today. You'll hear from our outgoing board chairman, Bobby Olm Shipman, our incoming board chairman, Bill Ferguson, and our president and CEO, Tracy Osborne Olchin. And of course, our keynote speaker, who's backed by popular demand, Rebecca Ryan. But first, I want to recognize and thank today's annual meeting presenting sponsor, Security Bank of Kansas City. Thank you, Tim Kelly. Tim is the regional president and CFO of the bank and a tremendous supporter of the Overland Park Chamber. Today's event is also brought to you by our leadership patron sponsor, the Overland Park Chamber Foundation, premier and host production sponsor, T-Mobile for Business, creative sponsor, Rycom, gold sponsor, HNTB, vibe partner, DJ Stan, bronze sponsor, Equity Bank, and our award sponsor for today, PGAV Architects. Today, we also hope you can be social with us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn with the hashtag YWOPChamber and hashtag FutureProof. From wherever you may be joining, we invite you to engage in conversation with others while enjoying the program.
Our Super Bowl Chiefs, award-winning.
The pandemic gave me the gift of perspective by being able to look back on what prior generations lived through and how we've got it very lucky.
It's fall and all the leaves are falling, but I have no trees in my yard, so I don't have to rake leaves.
Having friends over to the patio and just having conversations for a couple of hours and realizing that those are real friendships that had been neglected because life is so busy.
Mortgage rates dropped, and my business more than doubled.
At Menorah Medical Center, we saw this community rally behind and support everything we were doing as an organization. And I'm convinced now more than ever that we're going to continue to be a resource for this community for decades to come.
Attending Zoom meetings in my pajamas.
My wife and I re-explored Kansas on weekend trips.
The incredible dedication of our healthcare team.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to welcome to the stage the chairman for 2020. He is also the president and CEO of St. Luke's South Hospital, Mr. Bobby Olm Shipman.
Thank you, DJ Stan. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. This event allows us to thank the many volunteers who do so much for the Chamber, particularly those who have served in positions of leadership with our board of directors. Their time, dedication, and commitment over the past years have meant a lot to our membership, our organization, and the community. I'd like to take a second to thank and recognize several people who are retiring from our board. Jim Hemingway, Chicago Title; Craig Jeffries, Empower Retirement; Roger Summer, Fogel Anderson Construction; Mark Williams, Garver. On behalf of the Chamber, thank you for all your service. The Chamber will be reaching out to you individually to coordinate delivery of your recognition plaques for your service. Last year at this time, we met together in person, and as I delivered remarks looking forward to 2020, I could hardly have imagined what this year would have in store. My assistant, Sarah, is still completely amazed that I'm not only capable, but now getting somewhat proficient at scheduling and hosting online meetings. Yes, and including sharing my screen. It's amazing. With 4 kids at home, my wife, Molly, has relearned geometry, chemistry, and numerous fun facts about the American Revolution. I'm pretty sure she's expecting a call or letter from Dr. Merrigan conferring an honorary Teacher of the Year award at some point this year. I haven't told her. I'm pretty sure there's a line for that one. My discovery of just how much time my dogs actually spend sleeping in my bed during the day, despite Molly's assurances that never happens when you're at work. Weird. In all seriousness, just how much I would miss gathering in person with the Chamber staff, other business leaders, and our elected officials to discuss growth and development and the critical role businesses, large and small, play in a strong, vibrant, and forward-looking community. Despite the very real and not so humorous challenges this year has brought, one thing has not changed, and that's the great work the Chamber has continued to do on behalf of the business community. Last year at this time, we unveiled our new brand. We wanted a clean look and bold language to express our vision for the Chamber and how we serve you, our members, and our community. The timing was perfect because the vision we outlined a year ago has proven to be our North Star, guiding us forward during this time of uncertainty. That vision, the Overland Park Chamber, is the bold voice for business, the resource, advocate, convener, and change maker that drives economic success forward in our city, county, and state. When the pandemic hit, we determined first that we would be your best resource for information to help you sort through the chaos, ambiguity, and constant change in information, rules, and regulations. Our team curated the best resources for our new COVID hub on opchamber.org and hosted numerous webinars and subject matter experts to keep you informed. Nearly all of our events went virtual after mid-March, but that didn't mean the connections stopped. If anything, they increased. We hosted more meetings and had more one-on-one contacts and made more connections for our members than ever before. Some of you told us you had more meaningful contact online because it was so intentional. So whether you tried out a virtual coffee, a leads group, webinar, or finished Leadership Overland Park online, thank you for hanging in with us this year. If your experience has been anything like mine, working from home or conducting your daily schedule online from your office, many times meant extending your day, not shortening it. There was no question that business needed a strong advocate to be your voice, letting local, state, and federal officials know what you need. Your staff team represents you on too many task forces to list at the city, county, and state level. They've been your voice regarding stay-at-home orders to keep the business community as open as possible. They've been your voice to relax codes, to allow for temporary signage so you can promote your new hours or curbside service or delivery options. They've been your voice to create grant programs at the local level that specifically benefit small businesses. They've represented you at the state level to help shape proposed legislation to replenish the Unemployment Trust Fund, a key driver of business costs. They've been your voice at the federal level too, providing feedback about what is and isn't working about relief programs, and those things you need to make your business prosper in the future. Behind the scenes, we've been a convener, bringing people together to find out what was needed and to create solutions. From contacting each of our members personally to conducting numerous focus groups, our priority has been determining what your needs are so we can best advocate for you. There is power in numbers, not just all of you, but in all of our partner chambers throughout the community. So we have convened them throughout the year to discuss the impact businesses across the country have so we can maximize our collective business voice. An example of successful collaboration is the passage this year of the state's multi-year Eisenhower, or Ike, Legacy Transportation Plan, a $9.9 billion comprehensive plan. Thanks to years of work and lots of input from many of you about concerns for safety and growth, a component includes one of the Chamber's top priorities, the expansion and modernization of US Highway 69. Ultimately, the Chamber's goal is to be a change maker, which drives economic success for you, for our city, our county, and our state. Our economic development team, working in partnership with the city and our investors in the Economic Development Council, was involved in the successful recruitment of over 1,455 new jobs to Overland Park, and existing company expansions that retained 1,361 jobs, and that's just so far in 2020. Those projects have also included the commitment of over $36 million in capital investment for our community. The list of new and expanding companies in Overland Park this year is impressive. A Place for Mom, MMGY, Snap It, Dynamic Logistics, Retail Success, Wellington Group, BOK, New Analytics, Empower Retirement. In April, we celebrated the announcement that T-Mobile and Sprint had become the new T-Mobile, a merger we advocated for the last 2 years. We thank T-Mobile for Business for hosting our annual meeting today from its beautiful HQ2 in Overland Park. We look forward to the growth coming our way, taking advantage of the tech talent we have in our region. I'm so proud of the great work the Chamber's done over the course of this unprecedented year, particularly of the willingness of the Chamber team to roll up their sleeves and assist not only members, but non-member businesses that needed just as much assistance in navigating all the ins and outs of rules, regulations, and programs in response to this year's pandemic. While focusing on and supporting our business community through new challenges, the Chamber likewise evolved and innovated how it has delivered value throughout the year, including the creation of new programs such as Powerful Voices and the Fireside Chat series. Last but not least, just as we've all faced challenges sustaining our various businesses, the Chamber team has made tough decisions, tightened their belt, and worked hard to manage operations and expenses to help weather the storm. Our Chamber is no doubt emerging stronger, more viable, and is dedicated to continuing to serve as the voice of business well into the future. 2020 is thankfully coming to an end soon, and 2021 holds so much promise. As we look to put the challenges we face this year behind us, the Chamber will be there to assist. Whether it's hitting the restart button, getting back to a focus on growth, or continuing to capitalize on opportunities unexpectedly brought about by 2020, the OP Chamber will be there to be the bold voice for business, the resource, advocate, convener, and change maker that drives economic success forward in our city, county, and state. And that's why I OP Chamber.
Thank you, Bobby, for your outstanding service to the Chamber. We could not have been as successful without your leadership. And again, that hashtag is why we OP Chamber. Feel free to use that right now as you watch the show. Once again, I want to thank our partners for today. This event is being brought to you by the great team at Security Bank, Overland Park Chamber Foundation, our host today, T-Mobile for Business, and the creative minds at RICOM, along with HNTB, Equity Bank, and PGAV Architects. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce to you the 2021 chairman of the board. He is president and CEO at Central Bank of the Midwest and a longtime chamber supporter. Please welcome Mr. Bill Ferguson.
Thank you, DJ Stan. Well, thank you very much. I'm excited to be here. And wow, what an incredible year. Bobby has done an incredible job of leading us through this year. And when you look back at his time with the chamber, he's been an engaged leader. He was always interested in what you had to say, and he's accomplished a lot in that time with the chamber. Let me start with just a couple. He chaired the Economic Development Council in 2018 through some great growth. He led the branding effort for the chamber that we implemented in 2019 and 2020 and continue to carry forward. And get this, he was the first chairman to lead the chamber during a pandemic. Now, impressive, yes, but even more impressive, while he was doing that, he was also leading the essential teams at St. Luke's Hospital. Thank you, Bobby. He led our chamber through strategic discussions on becoming the essential partner organization to deliver greater value in our future. And I'll tell you what, those are some awfully big shoes to fill. And we have a great gift for Bobby, if I can have him join me up here. Please join me in thanking him and congratulating him as well.
Thanks, Bill.
All right, I am very honored and humbled to be the chairman of the amazing chamber in 2021. I look forward to leading the chamber in its ongoing mission to make Overland Park and businesses like yours prosper. It is exciting to be here today and look back at the impact that leaders of the past have had on the success of the chamber and on Overland Park. I am proud to represent Central Bank of the Midwest in our partnership with the OP Chamber that dates back to Ben Craig and the inception of this great organization. In the past 2 weeks, we came together to celebrate the future leaders of our city at the graduation of the 2020 Leadership Overland Park class. As I listened with pride to our very own Theodis Watson deliver the class message, I reflected on my own experience in the LOP 16 years ago in the class of 2004. New to Overland Park at the time, it was a perfect introduction to the power of the chamber and a pivotal time in my career that has continued to inform my leadership journey through many of the relationships I've built here. The Overland Park Chamber is an amazing organization made up of dedicated and passionate staff, as well as an incredibly experienced board of directors who have worked tirelessly to support, advocate, and deliver results that are essential to our business community. The accomplishments of this chamber are made possible through the intentional leadership, unwavering dedication, and everyday engagement from this extraordinary group of professionals. For that, I say thank you, and I am glad you're part of the team as we have a lot to accomplish to maintain our momentum for 2021. Along with many of you, I attended the Good Morning Overland Park breakfast a few weeks ago. I was inspired to hear speakers using words like pivot, reimagine, re-engineer with respect to their business models, product offerings, and delivery channels to continue providing the value and essential services our community needs now. The face of prosperity is changing, and you are rising to the challenge. We exist to make Overland Park prosper, and our partnership is more critical now than ever before to ensure our collective success in the future. How ironic that social distance brought us together to do things previously unimagined. With a new year and new hope ahead, we are more nimble, more creative, and more determined than ever in our mission to discover and respond to the needs and opportunities of this extraordinary community we call home. Stay tuned for more in 2021 as our board is working on some big plans. First, to be your essential organization as the primary hub for information, building stronger member-to-member connections, and building stronger relationships. We will focus on our city's infrastructure to enhance public safety and support greater access for our workforce through initiatives like the US 69 Highway Project. We will advocate for you and be a bold voice for business. We've got your back, and we will represent you with City Council, County Commission, at State Legislature, and with our federal officials. We will leverage the collective talents of our business community to collaborate on shared community goals, like increasing diversity, equity, and inclusion. We will learn from each other and make our community a more welcoming place. So, whether you're new to the Chamber or a longstanding member, I urge you in 2021 to add your bold voice to ours. Join us in the tough conversation and tackle the big issues. Become an advocate with us for action and growth. And also partner with us as we work hard every day to make Overland Park the best place to build a business, a career, and a home. Healthy businesses keep the pulse of the community strong, and the Chamber is committed to be your essential organization for the resources that help your business thrive: information, advocacy, member connections, and strong relationships, all in one place. Think of us as #MyOPChamber. Thank you for joining us today and for the opportunity to connect you, represent you, and work for you.
Thank you, Bill. We look forward to a great 2021 under your leadership. It's with the generosity and support of our annual sponsors that the Chamber has been able to provide our members with meaningful programs and impactful resources throughout the year. Let's thank and celebrate our corporate partners. And another shout out to our corporate partners. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my pleasure to welcome to the stage our Chamber President and CEO, Tracy Osborne Olchen, to present the Richard A. Worrell Community Legacy Award.
Thank you, DJ Stan. It's wonderful to be here. Good afternoon. Last year, the Chamber created a new award to honor our friend Rick Worrell and his legacy of service to our community. Rick wore many hats through the years: business and church leader, chamber, civic leader, coach, colleague, friend, and family man. Whatever the role, Rick always raised his hand, and he wasn't afraid to lead and to serve. That's what this award is all about. We received a number of nominations. All were worthy, and with tremendous recommendations from throughout the community. This year's honoree is truly special, achieving much in a life of professional, civic, and community service. Our honoree is a community builder, described by one of his references as someone whose top priority has always been to help build and develop a community that thrives on a foundation of investment in education, infrastructure, business development, and community spirit. Here's just a quick glance at our honoree. He spent 24 years overseeing the tremendous expansion of one of our region's greatest community assets, Johnson County Community College. He served on the Overland Park Planning Commission, then 10 years in elected office on the City Council, where he advocated for development and maintenance of infrastructure and the renewal of Overland Park's 1/8-cent sales tax for infrastructure as critical for business growth and opportunity. As a Kansas state senator, he advocated for significant investment in education, responsible fiscal policies, and critical community infrastructure. Community building continues now through his professional work at Kaw Valley Engineering. Community service includes volunteering for the March of Dimes and Special Olympics. Many of you have figured out by now that I'm talking about our friend, Senator John Skubal, who as a private citizen and elected official has devoted a lifetime serving our community and making it better. Among the most visible of John's legacies, in addition to much of the campus at Johnson County Community College, are his championing of the interchange at 159th and 69 and the much-needed Highway 69 expansion project. His work was critical to the successful passage of the 10-year, $9.9 billion Eisenhower Legacy Transportation Program. Notably, this was approved by more than 90% of the state's legislators, which is emblematic of his tireless work and collaboration with his colleagues. There was a common thread throughout the numerous letters that we received in recommendation that were submitted confidentially on John's behalf. Each one noted at least one characteristic that he has in common with our friend Rick. Here are just a few. He is a true citizen servant who always puts the interest of the community before his own. His greatest satisfaction is in seeing others succeed and thrive. While in elected positions, he mentored more junior or inexperienced elected officials to the critical issues that would mean greater success for their careers or the public they served. Transportation has been not only part of his career, but his life's passion. John is a man of immense character. Through a tireless work ethic and willingness to listen to all sides of a debate, he is able to fashion and implement workable solutions. He's solid. He will do whatever needs to be done for the interest of our community, just like Rick was solid. John resembles Rick in his quick smile, his dry humor, and his ability to tackle hard challenges with a twinkle in his eye. He worked the problem. It was about governing, not about ego. And finally, in a time when unifying and compromising and building from the center is just too far out of vogue, John remained committed to just those principles. Senator John Skubel's legacies will be seen for generations in the lives of our students, from the K-12 system to Johnson County Community College, and as we travel on local streets and on our state's highways. The people he has mentored filter all throughout our community and across the state of Kansas, and we will benefit from their leadership for years to come. Indeed, our friend Rick would be proud. Senator Skubel, please join me on the stage to accept the second annual Richard A. Worrell Community Legacy Award. Elbow bump. Yeah. A couple of words. They can't hear you because they're not mic'd.
Thank you. Thanks, Tracy, and congratulations to Senator Skubel on the well-deserved honor. Earlier, we heard from people who had positive learnings from over the past 11 months. Let's see what a few more Chambers members had to say about 2020.
One good thing about 2020 is how much time we've been able to spend at Club 27 at the Sykes Lady Golf Course.
I'm grateful for downtown Overland Park, new businesses, and award-winning parks.
What's your best part about 2020?
Our members.
The best thing for me about 2020 is that I'm still in contact with my LOP alums. We actually still volunteer together, and this year we volunteered at Community Link and Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Opening the newly renovated Thompson Park in downtown Overland Park.
2020 brought us a Super Bowl win.
Blue Valley Recreation has earned a 97% excellent or good satisfaction rating for programs and facilities, #1 in the nation according to the ETC Institute.
Seeing our people rally and fight through this together has been amazing.
And now it's my pleasure to introduce our featured guest. We are pleased to welcome back last year's keynote speaker, futurist Rebecca Ryan. She danced her way to the stage last year, for those of you who were there. She is a human spark plug, futurist and economist. She helps clients figure out how to future-proof their business so they can be ready for whatever is next. Rebecca will share useful foresight tools to help you go from feeling murky to having more certainty about your future. Because the future just doesn't happen to you, you also happen to the future. Rebecca is the resident futurist at the Alliance for Innovation, a senior advisor at the Governing Institute, a faculty member at the Institute for Zen Leadership, founder of the Futurist Camp, the inventor of Future Labs, and the owner of Next Generation Consulting Incorporated. She is the author of several books, including The Next Big Things, The Future of Local Government, Regeneration, a Manifesto for America's Future Leaders, and Live First, Work Second, Getting Inside the Head of the Next Generation. Please join me in welcoming Rebecca Ryan.
Wonderful to be back with you. I have a dog at my feet. I did not have to travel. Although I enjoyed all of my time with you, I also kind of love this. And that's the center of my talk today, right? I know this has been like a weird year, an unexpected year, but we're going to get through it. We're going to get through it. And as a futurist, I think there are some things we can do to seed a future that we maybe couldn't have even imagined. So today, I structured my remarks around 4 questions, and they're all on Post-its on my screen, so I want to show you this. So here's the first question. How am I going to make it to 2021? Second question, what small things can I do that could have big results? Third question, for those of you who are very ambitious, what bigger things can I do? And then finally, there's a killer question that's going to go really fast past the screen because I'm going to leave it till the end. The other thing I want to mention is call me. Hey girl, hey guy, give me a call. I don't mean call, text. If you have questions about anything I've said during the remarks, or if you've got a random general question about the future, I'll give it a go. I'm at your service for the next while. And let's face it, you're staring at the screen, you've got the Zoom fatigue, you're probably on this thing anyway, right? So use it. Give me a shout, give me a holler, give me a text, 414-559-1528. Are you ready to swan dive the future? Let's go. All right, first things first. How many of you feel freaked out about the future? Just answer to yourself, because I can't hear you. Answer to yourself. Or maybe I should put it this way. On a scale of 0 to 10, how freaked out are you? 0 being, Rebecca, I'm so chill about the future. I am Zen personified. 10 being, wow, I want to use a curse word right now. That's how freaked out I am about the future. We're all on this range. And you know what's crazy about this time is it can change moment by moment, can't it? It's a really weird time we're in. And as a futurist, as a person who studies time, who thinks about deep time, it's a really unusual moment we're in. My friend Jan said to me earlier this summer, we met in July, and she's had the double whammy because she retired, which already messes with your sense of time, and then we've got the COVID on top of it. And she said, Rebecca, is it Wednesday or is it July? And that's what time feels like right now. It's like this stretchy, amorphous, I think of it like one of those taffy machines. You know, they've got the paddle wheels and they go around, but they're not totally synced up. So the taffy stretches and then it comes back and goes over the next wheel, and then it stretches and it comes back over onto the opposite wheel. Time like dilates and contracts and dilates and contracts. It's crazy. It feels absolutely crazy. So if you are ever in freaked out corner in 1 minute and then feeling totally fine the next minute, you're not crazy. These times are crazy. But I want to center you because we are leaders in our organizations and we are leaders in our communities. So let me show you. You know I'm an economist, so I have to bring you an XY diagram. So here it is. On the bottom, the x-axis is perspective. So when you are having very low perspective or no perspective, it feels like you're in a blizzard, in a whiteout. But when you have really high perspective, right, which is sometimes the benefit of getting older, you've got a bigger lens through which to see things. This is kind of why some of our elders don't get so flipped out about things, right? They're like, I've seen it all. That is the value of a long life. That is a value of having perspective. But then over here, on the y-axis is agency. Agency. This is kind of like the idea of, do I have a sense of control over things, a sense of agency. Can I do something about this? And if you're in the low perspective, low agency corner, you freak out and you hoard toilet paper. That's what happened. I mean, when you don't have a sense of perspective and you don't have a sense of agency or control, what happens? I mean, have you ever lost your balance going down some stairs? And what do? You grab for the railing or you grab for the wall, something to hold yourself up. When we're in that low perspective, low agency quadrant, we feel absolutely off balance. And it's why we grab on to things that we can control, right? What is our job as leaders, though? It's to go from being freaked out, occasionally freaked out, but to try to stay up here in the upper right-hand quadrant, where we can bring calm, focused attention. And this is my job today, to move you as high and up to the right as possible. So let's get started. I want to start with perspective. How can we get perspective over what's happening? We all know by now that 1919 was the last time we had a pandemic on the scale that we're experiencing today. So 100 years ago. What does that mean? It means none of us have been through this before. None of us. So right there, you've got to give yourself some grace, right? We haven't been through anything like this before, and we may never go through something like this again. Right? But what does it feel like when we're in it? This is a glass ball that I keep on my desk. Right? And if I move it really close to the monitor, right, the thing that you're seeing right now, you can see nothing. You can't see over the top of it. You can't see around it. I kind of look weird looking through it, right? Because when something is so up in your face, you can't make sense of it. Right? But once we start bringing it back, once we start giving it the gift of distance, or the gift of perspective, and we start getting more and more perspective. I'm moving this little glass ball further and further. Now it's on the plane with my head. You can see that it's just the size of a tennis ball. When it's here, it takes up your whole screen. But is that the real size? Or is this the real size? The point being, when we feel absolutely like change is right up in our face, it is very hard to have a sense of perspective. It's difficult. It really is. But what great leaders do during a time like this is they give themselves and the people around them a sense of perspective. And how do they do that? They say things like, we've been through difficult things before. You know, for many of your organizations, for some of your families, this isn't the hardest thing you've faced. You've faced many other very difficult things. And when you take this current situation and you give it that perspective, this might not feel as bad as it does if it's just right up here in our face. Right? The other bit about agency I want to come to in just a second. But when you think about freak out corner versus calm, focused attention, these are rhetorical questions. But which corner do you want to be in when you're making decisions? Which corner do you want to be in as you're planning your 2021 strategy? Which corner do you want to be in as you're making bets and investments in the future? Right. We want to be up here. We want to be up here. So to the best of our ability as leaders, right, how can we calm ourselves, steady ourselves, square our shoulders, and keep our eyes to the horizon? Calm, focused attention. And there's a scientific reason why this level of energy really matters. It's because your feelings, your attitude as a leader is a contagion. There is a scientific fact of emotional contagion. Some of you know this very well. You know, if you were raised in an environment where you had a an alcoholic or an abusive parent. You learned how to walk into a room and immediately sense, it's like you had spidey sense. Is it safe? Is it safe in here? You were able to pick up on these signals to know what the emotional tenor was, right? Well, we as leaders, these are the times when we as leaders need to show up in that calm, focused way, because what does it do? It downregulates the nervous systems of everyone around us. It helps lift everybody from freak out corner up into that corner of calm, focused attention, right? So first lesson today is as you show up, so does your organization show up. So what can you do to keep yourself in that space of calm, focused attention? Now, let's come to this first question. Rebecca, how am I going to make it to 2021? Well, let's take some perspective here. You know, it would come to that. Let's take some perspective. I think there are dozens of reasons to be very hopeful about the future, but I don't want to dwell so much on those things except for one, and that is we are in a situation right now. We are not in a massive structural upheaval. I mean, if you think about, for example, how the stock market has performed over the last year, it seems like the stock market does not realize that we have gone through a pandemic. Why is that? Because structurally, things aren't completely broken. We're going through a situation when a lot of fractures are showing up, but we are in a situation, not a structural change. So what that means is we've got to watch ourselves so that we can make situational but not structural adjustments, right? Situational but not structural adjustments. There's a difference. So as we think forward into 2021, as I and my team are thinking forward into our next 2-year planning cycle, right? I want to introduce to you this theory that I learned about from another futurist. One of the things I did to pivot this year is I started to interview futurist friends from around the world about how they were thinking about the current situation and the future. And my new friend, Rowena Morrow, is an Australian futurist who taught me about hope theory. Hope theory, it's a real thing. It comes out of positive psychology. Hope theory is a real thing. And here are the components of it. Agency, remember that word from the previous slide, and pathways. Agency and pathways. And I want to talk about each, right? The reason that some people have hope and others don't is because of these two factors. Let's take agency first. Agency is this idea of, can I do something about this? Is there anything at all that I can do in my current context? You know, I remember being so inspired during the Great Recession because it was a time when many of our for-profit clients were trying to elevate the agency of their people. The economic recession felt outside of everyone's control, and people were freaking out. You know, am I going to lose my job? What's going to happen in our industry? And what insightful leaders did was they turned to their people and gave them agency and said, what are some ways that we could shrink our overhead? What are some ways that we could save jobs? And I remember one organization we were working with at the time, a Midwestern top 200 public accounting firm. And their entire organization got together and everyone agreed to work 20% less so that nobody would have to be laid off. I've heard similar stories coming out of Overland Park, right? That when we give our employees agency, when we ask, what can we do? Great ideas bubble up. So the first major characteristic of hope theory is this notion of, do I have agency? What can I do? What can I do in this situation? So, key component of hope theory. Second, pathways, right? What is the pathway out and through? What is the pathway out, through, or around? So, to think of it this way, I'll use my own business again as an example. Small business owner. If you had looked at my diary for 2019, you would have thought that my job was taking flights around the United States because I spent over half of my time on airplanes. But that's not really my job. My job is to create better futures, to help clients create better futures. It's just that travel, airplanes, was how I got to those clients, right? So as we started processing through how we could use this era that we're in, we thought about agency, what can we control, and pathways. What are the ways that we can get there? And one of the key decisions we made was to use this, to use Zoom. We said, hey, we can use this technology in novel and new ways to reach people, right? We can go right to people's desks. We don't have to wait. So we started this Futures Friday seminar series. This is a series to introduce others to foresight and how they can think about brighter futures. It allowed us to do something we would never have done before, but it was a pathway that had always been there. We had just not figured out how to use it, right? So something we could control and a pathway that we could take. I want you to think about this for your own organization. What is something that you can control, and what might be a new way, a new path to get at that deliverable, that value that you can create? There are all kinds of things if you really put your mind to it. So first piece, how are we going to make it through? We're going to think about how we can be agents, take control of the things we can control, and how we can find new pathways. So you say, Rebecca, what are some very small things I can do? I've got 3 ideas for you. 3 ideas. The first one is stay interviews. Stay interviews. Before I started my career as a futurist, I worked on the HR and organizational design side of things, trying to help companies become great places to work. So in that process, one of the things that we discovered in our research is that senior leaders oftentimes are not explicit with their top performers about what their pathway is, right? We just assume, sometimes you hear this from senior leaders, well, if I'm not on your case, it means that you're doing fine, just proceed, right? Reminds me, my dad said to my mom, I told you when I married you, I loved you. If that changes, I'll let you know, right? So there can be a sense of sort of under communicating with our employees from time to time. So what is the stay interview? It is this. It is a simple conversation between you and your best performers. If you're in an association, it could be your best volunteers or with your best donors. If you're in a for-profit company, it's with your rising stars or the people in whom you see a ton of promise and potential. And it is having the conversation with them that they are a part of your organization's future success. And then asking, what can we do to help you make an even bigger impact? Or what ideas do you have for the future of the organization, right? So the stay interview is simply a way to put your arm around the people whom you see as a part of the organization's future and say, we see you here. Why does it matter? Because in a time like this, where people are very nervous about what the future could be around the economy, around jobs, around workforce, your top people have a ton of options. They've got a lot more options. And what you don't want to have happen is you don't want them to leave in the very moment that you most need them to help you think forward and think through. So a small thing you can do is a stay interview with your top people. In fact, I'm going to double dog dare you to write down the names of those folks and figure out when next week you can just ask them when they could meet. Right? So that even before the end of the year, they know, off we go into the future together. You belong here. We see a future for you here. Number 1, the stay interview. Number 2, we are naturally futurists. We are naturally futurists, but we are untrained. And therefore, we are like well-intended puppies who just make a mess of things. Here's what I mean. There's a coffee shop about 2 blocks from here. It's called Madison Sourdough, and they are an amazing bakery. I've probably gone there a little too often over the course of the last few months, but those are my people, right? And they've sort of become my talisman for how the hospitality sector is doing here in Madison, Wisconsin, where I live. And this is what happens every time I go in there. RJ, Kathy, one of them is usually working at the front. I walk in and I say, hey, RJ, how's business? Right? And he says, oh man, this weekend was off the chain. Or I heard recently, Thanksgiving, we sold 3 times as many pies on pre-order as we did last year during this time, right? So I'm listening, right, for those signals of how they're doing. You do the same thing. When you Zoom with your family, when you are talking with your besties, when you're discussing the news, what you're doing is you're trying to get from other people what signals kind of they're picking up. Because we have this natural tendency to want to make sense of what's coming, especially during a time like this. In my world, this is called something. It's called sense making. I'm going to dare you right now, open a new window. Don't leave this meeting, but open a new window and just Google Rebecca Ryan, my name, Rebecca Ryan, sense making. When I Google it, I get two blogs that I've written on sense making. Individual results may vary. But if you Google Rebecca Ryan sense making, you'll see that there's a no cost, high impact process for how you can start to make sense of what's happening. So Tracy, for example, she's had these industry roundtables over the course of the last several months, right? Where she's been asking, how are things going? She's basically helping you within your industry sector make sense of what's happening. Sense making is this deliberate way of inviting everybody who comes to the meeting to pick up some signals, to kind of be like radar, like, what are you noticing? What are you noticing? What are you noticing? What are you noticing? Again, we have a natural tendency to do this. This is something that we very naturally do, but we don't do it in an organized way. So here's the organization. Get your industry group together. Like I have a group of local government sense makers. We meet once a week for an hour, right? There are 8 of us in the panel, maybe 4 to 5 of us can attend every week. Everybody brings 1 or 2 signals that they're picking up about the future of local government. And then this is how simple it is. Everyone takes a turn sharing their signals, and then everyone takes a turn making sense together of those signals. Is there a theme that we're seeing emerge? Is anything that Tracy said related to something else that I heard, and now I can make even more sense of it? Why is this important? Because these little signals that are on the edge of our markets, of what's happening with our clients, what's happening in our communities, the emerging factors always start at the margins and then they move to the center. So sense making is like this ninja move if you want to be a great futurist. You listen to what's happening around the outside and you make sense of it with a group. As a group, you build on each other's ideas, you compare notes. And with my sense-making group, we've been meeting since March, and we have been several weeks ahead of the media on some significant issues. Significant issues including the mental health crisis, the fact that suicides are higher now than they've been before. I could go on, but not in a braggy way, just to say sense-making works. So think about how you could operationalize this at your organization, your next management team meeting, right? Could you ask 2 or 3 of the folks who come into that meeting anyway to say, could you just bring us something that you're hearing in the market, something that kind of catches your attention, makes you kind of cock your head to the side and say, I haven't heard that before. And as you begin to build this muscle of sense making, it gives you a competitive advantage because you're able to see how the future is starting to be formed on the margins before it comes to the mainstream. Now, what bigger things can you do? What bigger things can you do? I've got a couple of ideas for you here. The first one is leapfrog. Times like this, when a lot of people are in freak out corner, when a lot of people are having a hard time seeing beyond the current moment, is the perfect time to step right over your competition, right? Step right beyond them. Because while people are hunkering and bunkering, you can look up, be clear-headed and say, what's going to be true in the future and what are some bets that I can make? Here's an example of a leapfrog move that happened in a relatively large Midwestern school district. Not yours, but one that if I said the name of it, you would know it. Here's what happened. In this school district, they have gone to a hybrid model. You go to school some days, you learn at home other days, and every single student has gotten an iPad. So they've tried, and every single student now has high-speed internet because the school has become the de facto provider of high-speed internet if you did not have it. They have done everything they possibly could to minimize learning loss, and yet, for students who are falling behind, they anticipate they will have a 3-year learning loss. 3-year learning loss. Okay, well, now that we know the fact, we can face it. So what does that mean? Well, they looked at their strategic plan and they said, hey, we had already planned to make a huge investment in computer-aided learning software in 2025. What if we brought that investment into 2021 and then we reconfigure the entire way that we do summer school so that we can have a much broader reach with more students, with teachers, and now with this computer-aided learning software, we can shrink that learning loss up to half. That is a leapfrog move. You were already planning to make the investment. What if you brought that investment closer to today? Could you make some gains that you wouldn't have otherwise been able to make? Leapfrog, what can you do? What positions could you be hiring for? What investments could you make? What changes do you need to make so that when everybody comes back to parity, you're 2, 3, 5 steps ahead, right? Another question in the what bigger things can we do is, are there some co-benefits that you could make? Right? What are co-benefits? Co-benefits are kind of as they sound. It's like benefit 1 and benefit 2 got together, made a little family, and ta-da, co-benefits. Right? It's like taking peanut butter and dark chocolate, each delicious on their own, but you put them together and you have a masterpiece, in my opinion, right? Co-benefits. So think about this for your own organization. Think back to 2019. You had plans for 2020. You had big plans for 2020, and many of you were planning for your best year ever. Okay? Were there investments that you planned to make? Were there strategic shifts that you intended to begin work on? Right? So the question then becomes, are there things that we can do in this environment now that will not only help you emerge in 2021, but you could link up with a prior strategy that you had already been planning so that you could, in effect, kill 2 birds with 1 stone, right? So it's slightly different than leapfrogging, but the idea is the same. How to put 2 concepts together in a way that solves 2 issues for your organization. So the example here is, I'm going to use a big one, but many communities prior to 2020 had climate change on the top of their list, climate change adaptation or mitigation. So they were already thinking about those things. Now those communities are looking at 2021 and saying, is there anything we can do to co-benefit this older priority that we had? So we see communities who are saying, we were going to have to retire a bunch of our fleet anyway. We're going to retire it early, benefit from the resale of that, and put that money into electric vehicles or electrification of the economy. Beautiful co-benefit. It had been a wicked problem. Now we're going to see what we can do this year to sort of solve for that wicked problem that existed before 2020 rolled in. All right. And here's your final killer question. Why do you exist? How you're delivering services and benefits to your members, to your clients, that may have changed significantly. But why you do it, probably has not. In the chamber world, right? Chambers, yes, they throw events like this one. They want to get you together. They know that you love to get together. It's absolutely true. But having meetings isn't why chambers exist. Chambers exist for the 4 reasons that are in the Overland Park mission and vision statement. That's why chambers exist, right? So if you know what your why is, how you deliver the value can have a lot of different options. Why do you exist? Why does your organization exist, right? We know that in the medical profession, right, to help people with their health and well-being and to reduce suffering, 40% of most doctor visits, I think that's the new standard, 40% of most visits to your doctor can be handled via telemedicine. Fulfilling the why we exist, but doing it in a different way. What about you? Why does your organization exist? And how can you co-benefit? Can you leapfrog? Can you do some small things? And can you be an agent of your own pathway towards the future? You got this. And what we know is that we need each other. And guess what? We have each other too. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca, for sharing your enlightening and thought-provoking insights and expertise with us today. A special thanks to you all, our greatest resource, our members, for your investment in the Overland Park Chamber and for joining us today. And also a huge thank you to our presenting sponsor, Security Bank of Kansas City. I'd also want to thank our Chamber corporate partners. They've been there for us throughout the entire year. Advent Health Shawnee Mission, Black & Veatch, Central Bank of the Midwest, Empowerment Retirement, Menorah Medical Center, Overland Park Regional Medical Center, and T-Mobile, as well as our corporate sponsors for 2020, Affinis Corporation, Community America of Credit Union, Evergy, First National Bank of Omaha, Folston Siefken, J.E. Dunn Construction Company, Johnson County Community College, Kansas Gas Service, McCown Gordon Construction, St. Luke's Health System, University of Kansas Edwards Campus, University of Kansas Health System, and our Leadership Circle sponsor, Adams Gabbard. The show's not over, so stick around for a few minutes and enjoy the video montage of our members.